Welcome back to the Middle East Dialogue. My name is Zaki from Middle East Insurance Review. Today, I am here with Joe Asmar, Deputy CEO, Shadid Re's Global Operations. We'll be discussing the impact of the war in the Middle East on the reinsurance business across the region. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Zaki.
Good morning to you as well. So, Joe, why don't you start by telling me a bit more about how the reinsurance market across the Middle East, especially in the GCC, has reacted to the ongoing conflict?
The event that we have seen in the recent days, frankly, were unprecedented. And to a certain extent, nobody was expecting the level of attacks that we have seen, especially that the region was very well known for its stability, security, and ongoing development. Unfortunately, with the attack that happened from the US and Israel against Iran, we have seen a retaliation against all the region, in particular also to GCC countries. And this had a very chain reaction in terms of the insurance market and for sure also to the whole different industries across the region.
Right, understood. We can all agree that I think energy has been affected quite greatly across the region and in fact across the world. And how does this translate to its impact on the insurance market?
The main effect of this war was for sure on everything related to war cover. In particular, everything related to marine cover. So we have seen immediately a notice of cancellation following the 72-hour clause that usually is there on marine coverages. So reinsurers immediately send these notifications to their different insurance companies. And we saw an immediate hike, of prices across the market. Even we have seen levels of 100 to 400% in prices. So this was the main effect, if I want to put it in that perspective. And eventually, also other lines of business like aviation, the effect of war, the disturbance in aviation, let's say trips and flights, in addition to a high increase and demand for political violence, sabotage, terrorism, with also a major increase in prices. So these were, to a certain extent, the major event that occurred for the different lines. In addition to that, there are secondary lines that were affected and which are related to other perspectives. I can tell you, for example, we have seen energy, as you mentioned, the accumulation on the energy side, because also there has been a lot of storage areas and power plant areas that were attacked during this war. And this has put a lot of pressure on accumulation for reinsurers, especially covering these sites.
Right, understood. So in the short to medium term, what will be the impact on the reinsurance business across the market? Talking about things like, how you approach underwriting, how you approach investments. Is there enough capacity and things like that?
I think for the time being, the first effect is related to underwriting impact. This is for sure. We have seen that. And as I mentioned previously, withdrawn of capacity, more restrictive coverages, in particular to the area related to the Hormuz passage, to the GCC and to certain conflict locations that are there. If I take, for example, Iranian waters or the Gulf area, all of these were affected with the initial cancellation. At the same time, we will see a lower limit given, plus more restricted approach in terms of the cover that is given and the capacity that will be given. If I take also pricing and the rate hardening, today you have seen the short-term effect is very high increases, in terms of the rates that are required. As I mentioned before, we are seeing over 100%, from 100 to 400% on certain interest. But eventually, I think for the medium term, this will be repriced to take with the actuary more technical price for such events in the future. Hopefully they will not happen, but this will be taken into consideration in the future. Regarding the capacity withdrawal, I think this will come back to the region for the medium term, but it will take time and it will be First of all, more restrictive and with less capacity than before. Another thing that I think could affect, and we can see in the region, is segmentation of the region between high-risk areas and low-risk areas. And for sure, this will depend on the aftermath of the war that will happen and what will be the, let's say, the consequences or the result after that. Other factors that can have a short-term and a long-term and a medium-term effect is investment, in addition to solvency and capital management. If the war will continue, there will be a lot of pressure related to solvency, especially if claims will be incurring more and more. Maybe insurance companies, if they have a lot of accumulation, they will have issues to have the solvency in case reinsurance does not come to the support, and this is mainly on the short term. Medium term, I think they will be able to recover from their reinsurers, whether retro or reinsurers, to cover these losses.
Can we expand a bit more on the topic of capacity? How have you seen your colleagues within the reinsurance industry reacting to the current conflict, and how are they deploying their capacity, so to speak?
Today, reinsurers are very worried about the future, especially that the horizon is not clear to anyone with whatever is happening. You are seeing a lot of changes and things. So what we are seeing that reinsurers are being very, very careful on how to deploy the capacity. At the same time, they are very careful on how much to price this capacity and the time frame for the end of such conflict.
Right.
So even on the quotation level, and when you are working on any business or any account, offers are being given on a fast pace, and for a short period. So we are receiving offers related to 24 or 48 hours, especially for lines related to war, terrorism, and such requirements. The capacity has been reduced a lot. Many people has put their pen down to oversee the situation, but still we are able to manage for our clients support across the region.
So how should insurance providers prepare for a longer term conflict, right? What is the current challenges facing insurance companies?
With the situation that is happening, and God forbid if the situation will take more time, I think all sectors will be affected, not only the insurance sector. And if the economies continue to be under pressure with increasing oil prices, and a continuing conflict of lack of stability, a lot of factors, especially tourism factor, energy sectors, and other sectors, transportation sectors will be affected, supply chain sectors will be affected. And all of this will have a direct effect on insurance companies and the industry as a whole. First of all, in terms of let's say renewal and growth of the business. And God forbid, in terms of more losses happening, this will put more pressure on insurance company in terms of their capital, their solvency, especially if there are certain big accumulation in terms of losses, And this will be crucial for insurance companies. So for sure, they will be needing the support of their insurance broker, their reinsurers, to make sure that payments are done quickly, fastly. And the challenge also is to manage these claims and the handling of the claims during this period of time.
So you mentioned brokers, which brings me to the next point. Currently, during this conflict, what do you think the best role for brokers would be, during these times of challenge?
Today, brokers have a lot of challenges as insurance brokers. You need to act very fast. You need to work as an advisor, not only a transactional placement. So you need to have scenario planning. At the same time, you need to work in an accelerated way. Just give you a small example. Today, when you are quoting any PV business or war on land or a marine war cover, the terms and conditions are given on 24 or 48 hour basis.
Yes.
With a PPW very short one of 7 days, or even cash for cover, So this will put a lot of responsibility on the reinsurance brokers. First of all, whenever you are getting a lead line, to make sure that you can complete the placement so fast to make sure that the client is covered. At the same time, to make sure that the funds are there by the insurance company in order not to have the exposure or, God forbid, any claim that may happen during this period. This is part of what we have been doing. At the same time, finding the capacity, because also capacities are not easy, and trying to structure this capacity with a little bit of complicated structure sometimes to make the level of requirement needed. For certain risks, some insurance companies and clients can accept a limit of liability, certain limit of liability, but for other risks, they need, because in case of loss, it's a total loss that is happening. So they will need a whole capacity or a whole sum insured to be covered in order for them to protect their interests. So it's really challenging times. Technical requirements are there needed. Fast response, and we are talking about a 24-hour job, really day to day, to meet the requirement and support our clients across the region.
We've talked about the various risks, that insurers and reinsurers are handling during this period. We've mentioned marine, energy, supply chain, but what kind of emerging risks are cropping up during this conflict, right? Cyber, I think, comes to the top of my mind. What else is happening around?
Cyber in particular is related to cyber warfare, that is happening today. And we have seen a lot of cyber attacks affecting financial institutions, in particular in GCC from Iran. And this has been a big challenge. So this is, I think, one of the main triggers to the region. And the wording related to this, whether it falls under war exclusion or not, it's debatable, but this is for sure something that we need to consider. Supply chain today, this is another thing that we have seen being affected, and it's not clearly covered, in particular whenever you don't have a material damage. So usually when you have material damage and you have loss of profit coming from this, it can be included. Today, this is another perspective that is there. What we have not seen to a certain extent is evacuation and kidnap and ransom. This is something that can arise also. Two other coverages that we have seen and can be very interesting is, first of all, environmental liability.
Right.
Because we have seen a lot of tankers being attacked or even ships with oil being attacked. So there is a big risk related to environmental liability. And this is a very big emerging risk that need to be taken into consideration. And finally, I think nuclear, biological, and chemical cover, which is excluded in all policies, need to be considered, in particular with the threatening of attacking nuclear plants and things that are close to the GCC region, and they are based in Iran, let's say, that can affect the different territories in the region.
Those last two risks, as you mentioned, environmental liability and nuclear, chemical, and biological, are insurers and reinsurers within the region prepared to cover such risks?
I think these are very, very specialized risks. And to a certain extent, I don't think anyone foresee that, as we mentioned initially, that situation could go to that level of escalation. And I think such coverages need to be taken into consideration for the future.
Understood. Thank you very much for your time, Joe. It's been a pleasure talking to you, enlightening us on the current market situation in the region. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Thank you, Zaki. I hope that things will be settled very soon for all the region, for the people living in the region, and even for the whole world. And hopefully this will be back to normal and to doing back our business as usual. And I hope everyone to stay safe and stay well in these difficult times.
Thank you again, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay,
Take care.
You.
Bye.
Bye.